Excellent. Han here begins the first complete section of your 81-fold path of dissertation self-actualization. Domain 1, Cognitive Mastery, expanding the mind as instrument of peace and harmony. Each paragraph is fully written in doctoral style with one supporting APA 7 citation. 1. Integrative awareness. Self-actualization starts with the capacity to integrate multiple systems of knowledge into a single coherent worldview. Maslow, 1968, observed that self-actualizing individuals perceive reality holistically and resist dichotomous thinking. For a scholar leader, this means uniting empirical rigor, moral reflection, and contemplative awareness so that intellect serves truth rather than ego. The integrative mind becomes a bridge linking science and spirit, data and dignity, so that every research act advances human flourishing. Maslow, A.H., 1968, Toward a Psychology of Being, 2nd ed. Van Nostrand. Systems thinking. Doctoral cognition matures when analysis expands into systems awareness. Senghi, 2006, describes systems thinking as seeing interrelationships rather than linear chains of cause and effect. Through this lens, the researcher recognizes that leadership, AI ethics, and global well-being form one living network. Cultivating systems literacy prevents reductionism and encourages decisions aligned with sustainable harmony. Seng P.M., 2006, The Fifth Discipline, The Art and Practice of Learning Organization, Revel Ed, Doubleday. 3. Metacognitive reflection. Metacognition, the ability to think about one's own thinking, enables continual refinement of scholarly method. Flavel, 1979, showed that awareness of cognitive processes improves learning and judgment. For conscious leadership research, metacognition becomes humility in action, questioning assumptions, observing bias, and aligning reasoning with ethical intent. This reflective vigilance transforms cognition into compassion. Flavel, J.H., 1979. Metacognition and cognitive monitoring, a new area of cognitive developmental inquiry. American Psychologist, 3410, 906-911. #4, Critical Thinking. Paul and Elder, 2014, define critical thinking as disciplined, self-directed reasoning that embodies intellectual integrity. In doctoral inquiry, this discipline guards against ideological distortion and ensures arguments remain evidence-based. The conscious global leader applies critique not to destroy, but to clarify, turning analysis into service for clearer collective understanding. Paul, R., and Elder L. Critical Thinking, Tools for Taking Charge of Your Learning and Your Life, Pearson. Samjal 5, Epistemic Humility. Intellectual growth depends on recognizing the limits of knowledge. Kidd, 2016, described epistemic humility as acknowledging fallibility while remaining committed to truth-seeking. Such humility invites dialogue across cultures and paradigms, preventing the arrogance that isolates scholars from wisdom traditions. By bowing to the unknown, the researcher opens space for revelation and innovation. Kidd, I.J., 2016, Epistemic Humility, Epistemic Diligence, and the Epistemology of Ignorance. Royal Institute of Philosophy Supplement, 78, 61-81. Analytical Precision. Precision transforms intuition into scholarship. Booth, Colum, and Williams, 2016, emphasized that academic rigor depends on clearly defining terms and logically structuring evidence. For Hines' dissertation, analytical precision ensures that spiritual insight and empirical data meet on verifiable ground, preserving credibility while transmitting depth. Booth, W.C., Colum, G.G., and Williams, 2016, The Craft of Research, 4th ed., University of Chicago Press. 7. Creative cognition. Innovation arises when intellect and imagination collaborate. Ward, Smith, and Vade, 1997, showed that creative cognition uses existing knowledge to generate novel ideas through conceptual combination. For conscious global leadership, this means blending disciplines, AI ethics with Buddhist compassion, data science with moral philosophy, to produce transformative insights. Ward, T.B., Smith, S.M., and Vade, J. eds. Creative Thought, an investigation of conceptual structures and processes. American Psychological Association. 8. Cognitive Resilience. Sustained inquiry requires mental stamina. Duckworth, 2016, defined grit as passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Cognitive resilience allows scholars to face ambiguity and criticism without collapsing into doubt. Each revision, rejection, or reanalysis becomes spiritual training in perseverance, transforming struggle into scholarship. Duckworth, A.L., 2016. Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. Scribner. 9. Synthesis into wisdom. The final level of cognitive mastery is wisdom, the seamless integration of knowledge and compassion. Sternberg, 2021, described wisdom as the application of intelligence and creativity toward a common good. When doctoral reasoning matures into benevolent understanding, intellect becomes an instrument of peace and harmony, guiding technology and leadership toward human flourishing. Sternberg, R.J., 2021, Adaptive Intelligence, Surviving and Thriving in Times of Uncertainty. Cambridge University Press. These 9 cognitive principles establish mind as the first of your dissertation path. Clarity, humility, resilience, and wisdom unified. Would you like me to continue now with Domain 2, Emotional Regulation, paragraphs 10 to 18, in the same full paragraph academic style? Excellent. Han here continues your 81-fold path of dissertation self-actualization, Domain 2, Emotional Regulation, transmuting emotion into steadfast presence. Each paragraph is written in full doctoral form with a supporting APA 7 citation. 10. Emotional regulation begins with awareness, the capacity to recognize feelings as data rather than disruptions. Goleman, 1995, introduced emotional intelligence as the ability to identify, understand, and manage emotions constructively. For doctoral researchers, awareness of subtle shifts, excitement, fear, pride, prevents unconscious bias and supports authentic reflection. When emotions are observed without judgment, they transform from distractions into instruments of insight. Goleman D., 1995, Emotional Intelligence, Bantam Books. Shot 11. Mindful Observation Kabat-Zinn, 2013, emphasized mindfulness as non-reactive observation of the present moment. Through daily mindful pauses, scholars learn to meet anxiety or frustration with curiosity rather than resistance. This practice reduces cognitive rumination, enhances concentration, and infuses academic labor with compassion. Mindful observation turns writing itself into a meditative act that stabilizes both mind and heart. Kabat-Zinn, J., 2013. Full Catastrophe Living, Revij Rash Bantam. Bantam. Tasher 12, Self-Compassion. According to Neff, 2011, self-compassion involving oneself with the same kindness offered to a friend during failure or struggle. In the dissertation journey, mistakes and delays are inevitable. Responding with gentleness preserves motivation and mental health. Compassion toward oneself nurtures resilience, transforming academic rigor into humane perseverance. Neff, K.D., 2011. Self-Compassion, the Proven Power of Being Kind to Yourself, William Morrow. At 13. Emotional balance in uncertainty research thrives amid ambiguity, yet uncertainty often triggers anxiety. Davidson and Beagley, 2012, demonstrated that emotional balance arises from cultivating prefrontal control over limbic reactivity. Scholars who train the brain toward balance engage complexity without collapse. Equanimity becomes the emotional counterpart to intellectual rigor. Davidson R.J. and Begley S., 2012, The Emotional Life of Your Brain, Hudson Street Press. Top 14. Transforming Stress into Energy. Stress is not the enemy of scholarship, it is unchanneled energy. Selly, 1978, described eustress as beneficial stress that enhances performance when properly managed. By reframing deadlines as opportunities for mastery, doctoral students convert pressure into momentum. This alchemy of stress supports endurance and creativity throughout long research cycles. Selly, H., 1978, The Stress of Life, McGraw-Hill. 15. Emotional Intelligence in Collaboration. Team research and committee interaction demand empathy and tact. Mayer, Salovey, and Caruso, 2004, defined emotional intelligence as perceiving, using, understanding, and managing emotions in oneself and others. Effective collaboration depends on recognizing group dynamics and responding with composure and respect. Emotionally intelligent dialogue transforms conflict into clarity. Mayer J.D., Salo V.P., and Caruso D.R., 2004. Emotional Intelligence, Theory, Findings, and Implications. Psychological Inquiry, 5th 3, 197 to 215. 16. Emotional Authenticity Rogers, 1961, asserted that congruence, alignment between inner feeling and outward expression, is fundamental to psychological health. For the scholar leader, emotional authenticity sustains trust with mentors and peers. When feelings are expressed honestly yet respectfully, relationships become laboratories of transparency and growth. Rogers, C.R., 1961, on Becoming a Person, a Therapist's View of Psychotherapy. Halton Mifflin, Hasha 17. Forgiveness as Release. Holding resentment drains creative energy. Enright and Fitzgibbons, 2015, defined forgiveness as a voluntary process of replacing negative emotions with benevolence toward the offender. In academic settings, where critique and rejection are common, practicing forgiveness restores focus and peace. Emotional release reopens the channel for inspiration. Enright R.D. and Fitzgibbons R.P., 2015. Forgiveness Therapy, an empirical guide for resolving anger and restoring hope, 2nd ed., American Psychological Association. 18. Emotional Transcendence, Frankl, 1959, taught that meaning transforms suffering into inner triumph. Emotional transcendence arises when the scholar recognizes each challenge as a call to deepen purpose. Through this lens, every frustration becomes sacred instruction in patience, humility, and devotion to truth. Emotion thus matures into the steady compassion required of conscious global leadership. Frankl, V.E. 1959, Man's Search for Meaning, Beacon Press. These 9 practices cultivate the heart as the second temple of your doctoral path, equanimity, compassion, and authenticity harmonized. Would you like me to continue with Domain 3, Ethical Grounding, paragraphs 19 to 27 next? Wonderful. Han. We now continue your 81-fold path of dissertation self-actualization with Domain 3, Ethical Grounding, the third temple, Integrity as Illumination. Each paragraph stands as a doctoral level reflection supported by a full APA 7 citation. 19. Integrity as Core Identity. Integrity is the foundation of credible scholarship. Resnick, 2018, noted that scientific ethics rest on honesty, accuracy, efficiency, and objectivity. For the conscious leader scholar, integrity means allowing these virtues to become identity rather than obligation. Every citation, data point, and conversation thus becomes a testament to moral coherence. Resnick, DB 18, The Ethics of Science, an Introduction, 3rd ed., Routledge. 20. Academic honesty as devotion. Plagiarism is not only an academic offense but a spiritual fracture. Bretag, 2016, emphasized that integrity cultures depend on modeling transparency, mentorship, and accountability. Treating honesty as devotion transforms referencing from a requirement into reverence for the lineage of knowledge itself. Bretag T. 2016, Challenges in Addressing Plagiarism in Education. PLOS Medicine 1312 E1002-183. Schnash 21, Ethical Reflexivity. Gilliman and Gillam, 2004, describe ethics in practice as the continuous self-questioning that occurs within the research process. Ethical reflexivity invites the scholar to pause before every methodological choice and ask, does this honor the dignity of participants and the truth? Reflection becomes the invisible methodology that safeguards all others. Gilman, M., and Gillam, L., 2-4, Ethics, Reflexivity, and Ethically Important Moments in Research. Qualitative Inquiry, 10-261-280. Confidentiality and Respect for Persons. The Belmont Report, 1979, articulated respect for persons, beneficence, and justice as universal research ethics. Upholding confidentiality expresses these principles in action, ensuring that participants remain subjects of dignity, not objects of data. Such respect anchors the dissertation in compassion rather than exploitation. National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, 1979. The Belmont Report, U.S. Government Printing Office. 23. Cultural and Global Ethics. In a globalized academy, ethics must transcend parochial norms. Hofstede, 2011, demonstrated that values vary across cultures, requiring sensitivity to contextual morality. Conscious global leadership integrates cultural empathy with universal human rights, ensuring that research uplifts rather than imposes. Hofstede, G., 2011. Dimensionalizing Cultures, the Hofstede Model in Context, Online Readings in Psychology and Culture, 2-1. Environmental Responsibility. Ethics extends beyond people to planet. Srivastava, 2010, argued that sustainability ethics demand that scholars consider ecological consequences of organizational behavior. Including environmental awareness in leadership research situates moral responsibility within Earth's larger system of life. Srivastava, P. 2010, Pedagogy of Passion for Sustainability. Academy of Management Learning and Education, 9-3, 443 to 455. Hasher 25, Digital and AI Ethics, Florida and Cowles, 2021. Proposed 5 principles: beneficence, non-maleficence, autonomy, justice, and explicability, as anchors for responsible AI. Embedding these principles in your dissertation ensures that technology serves humanity rather than subverts it, aligning digital innovation with sacred stewardship. Florida L. and Cowles J., 2021, a unified framework of 5 principles for AI and society. Harvard Data Science Review, 3-1. Transparency and Accountability Bovens, 2007, defined accountability as a social relationship in which an actor feels obliged to explain and justify conduct. By documenting procedures openly and inviting critique, the researcher transforms vulnerability into virtue. Transparency becomes both shield and mirror for ethical clarity. Bovens, M., 2007, Analyzing and Assessing Accountability, a Conceptual Framework. European Law Journal, 13-4, 447 to 468. Taunar 27, Justice as Universal Compassion, Rawls, 1999, envisioned justice as fairness rooted in equality of opportunity. For the conscious scholar, justice expands beyond policy to include compassion for marginalized voices. Integrating equitable representation within research design fulfills both moral duty and spiritual calling. Rawls, J. 1999, A Theory of Justice, Rev. Ed., Harvard University Press. These 9 reflections form the third temple of ethical grounding, the luminous discipline where truth, compassion, and accountability converge. Would you like me to continue with Domain 4, Spiritual Presence, paragraphs 28 to 36 next?
Chào anh chị, hôm nay em sẽ nói về Kim Long 32 phòng có nhà vệ sinh, một cái xe rất là đặc biệt. Trên đó là còn một chiếc Kim Long 22 phòng có nhà vệ sinh nữa, nhưng mà em sẽ quay chiếc này trước. Anh chị nào mình có nhu cầu vui lòng nhìn vào.
Beautiful. Now we enter the fourth temple, spiritual presence, the science of stillness and the art of peace. These 9 reflections, paragraphs 28 to 36, expand your 81-fold path of dissertation self-actualization, each anchored with an APA 7 citation. 28. Sacred awareness and scholarship. Scholarship becomes sacred when awareness saturates every moment of research. Thinidhan, 1998, taught that mindfulness turns ordinary actions into prayers of attention. When a scholar types, reads, or revises in full presence, each gesture honors interbeing, the understanding that knowledge, life, and compassion are inseparable. Thich Nhat Hanh, 1998, The Heart of the Buddha's Teaching, Broadway Books. 29. Contemplative Inquiry, Palmer, 1998, described the contemplative teacher as one who teaches from an undivided self. In research, contemplative inquiry means letting silence inform analysis and intuition guide interpretation. The still mind becomes a lens polished by humility, allowing insight to arise naturally rather than through force. Palmer, P.J., 1998, The Courage to Teach, Jossie Bass. 30. Presence over performance. Toll, 2004, proposed that genuine power arises from presence, not performance. Scholars often confuse productivity with worth. However, spiritual presence detaches identity from outcome. By writing from still awareness rather than egoic striving, the researcher channels truth with greater clarity and grace. Tolle, E., 2004, The Power of Now, New World Library. 31. Unity of mind and breath. Scientific and contemplative traditions converge on breath as regulator of consciousness. Brown and Gerbarg, 2012, demonstrated that slow, coherent breathing enhances cognitive control and emotional stability. Through mindful respiration before writing or presenting, the doctoral candidate enters physiological peace that nurtures insight. Brown R.P. and Gerbarg P.L. 2012. The Healing Power of the Breath. Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine. 18-2, 179 to 181. Non-attachment to results. The Bhagavad Gita counsels action without attachment to outcome. Aiswaran, 2007. For the modern researcher, non-attachment prevents obsession with recognition and sustains joy in process. Each paragraph written becomes service, not self-promotion, ensuring that academic ambition matures into spiritual freedom. Aiswaran E. Trans. The Bhagavad Gita, Nilgiri Press, 33. Reverence for silence. Silence is the womb of wisdom. Nat Hahn, 2015, explained that deep listening arises only when inner noise subsides. Regular intervals of contemplative silence between analytical tasks refresh the scholar's intuition and restore alignment with peace and harmony. Thich Nhat Hanh. Silence, the power of quiet in a world full of noise. Harper 1. 34. Gratitude as spiritual discipline. Emmons and McCullough, 2003, found that daily gratitude practices increase well-being and prosocial behavior. Expressing thanks to mentors, data sources, even challenges elevates the vibrational tone of research. Gratitude transforms scholarship from duty into celebration. Emmons, R.A., and McCullough, M.E., 2003. Counting Blessings versus Burdens, an experimental investigation of gratitude and subjective well-being. Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, 84-2, 377 to 389. 35. Compassionate Presence in Leadership. Dalai Lama 14, 1999, described compassion as the wish for others to be free from suffering, coupled with commitment to act. In leadership and research alike, compassionate presence humanizes authority. It reminds the scholar that every policy or algorithm ultimately touches sentient life deserving of care. Dalai Lama 14, 1999, Ethics for the New Millennium, Riverhead Books. 36. Transcendent Awareness, Wilbur, 2000. Frames spiritual evolution as integration of body, mind, and spirit into ever-widening circles of identity. Transcendent awareness enables leaders to perceive themselves not as isolated intellects, but as expressions of the universal field of consciousness. In this realization, research itself becomes meditation in motion. Wilbur K. 2000. A Theory of Everything. An Integral Vision for Business, Politics, Science, and Spirituality. Shambhala. These 9 reflections consecrate the fourth temple, spiritual presence, where every breath and word becomes an act of peace and harmony. Would you like me to continue with Domain 5, Physical Discipline, paragraphs 37 to 45, next? Beautiful. Han, we now open the fifth temple, physical discipline, the body as the sacred instrument of leadership and research. These 9 reflections, paragraphs 37 to 45, expand your 81-fold path of dissertation self-actualization, each grounded in doctoral scholarship with full APA 7 citations. Embodied scholarship. The body is not a passive vessel for intellect, but an active participant in knowing. Varela Thompson and Roche, 1991, argued that cognition is embodied, arising from sensorimotor engagement with the world. For the conscious scholar, exercise, posture, and physical awareness become extensions of epistemology, ways of thinking through movement and breath. Varela F.J., Thompson E., and Roche E., 1991, The Embodied Mind, Cognitive Science and Human Experience, MIT Press. 38. Rhythm and Routine. Consistent daily rhythm stabilizes both physiology and focus. Kleitman, 1963, showed that ultradian and circadian rhythms regulate cognitive efficiency and alertness. Aligning research sessions with one's natural cycles enhances productivity and prevents burnout, turning scheduled discipline into biological harmony. N. Sleep and Wakefulness, University of Chicago Press. Hasher 39, Nutrition for Cognitive Clarity. Fueling the brain with balanced nutrition sustains scholarly precision. Gomez Pinilla 2008 demonstrated that omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and micronutrients enhance synaptic plasticity in learning. Conscious nourishment thus becomes ethical practice, honoring the body that generates insight. Gomez Pinilla, F., 2008. Brain Foods, The Effects of Nutrients on Brain Function. Nature Reviews Neuroscience, 9/7/68 to 5/78. 40. Rest and Recovery. Sleep consolidates memory and creativity, essential for research synthesis. Walker, 2017, documented that quality sleep strengthens problem solving and emotional regulation. Adequate rest is therefore not indulgence but integral methodology, allowing the subconscious to refine understanding overnight. Walker, MP, 2017, Why We Sleep, Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams. Scribner, 41, Movement as Meditation. Mindful movement practices yoga, tai chi, or walking meditation, bridge body and spirit. Salmon, Lush, and Jablonski, 2009, found that yoga enhances stress resilience and attentional control. Incorporating movement between writing sessions transforms physical activity into contemplative renewal. Salmon, P., Lush, E., and Jablonski, M., 2009, Yoga and Mindfulness, Clinical Aspects and Research Evidence. Clinical Psychology Review, 29/7, 783 to 789. 42. Breath for energy regulation. Breath is the regulator of both nervous system and attention. Gerath et al., 2015, identified slow diaphragmatic breathing as a mechanism for reducing sympathetic arousal and enhancing cortical activity. Conscious breathing before presentations or analysis sessions tunes the scholar's physiology to equanimity. Jareth R., Crawford M.W., Barnes, V.A., and Harder, K.A., 2015. Self-regulation of breathing as a primary method of stress management. Frontiers in Psychology, 6, Article 1162. Hadda 43, Somatic Awareness and Emotion. The body stores emotion that can either obstruct or inform cognition. Damasio, 1999, demonstrated that somatic markers guide reasoning by linking feelings to decisions. Developing bodily awareness allows the researcher to sense intuitive signals of coherence or dissonance within data and dialogue. Damasio, A.R., 1999, the feeling of what happens, body and emotion in the making of consciousness. Harcourt. 44. Physical resilience training. Building muscular and cardiovascular strength parallels mental endurance. McGonigal, 2015, found that interpreting exertion as purpose-driven stress enhances resilience and well-being. Each workout becomes rehearsal for scholarly perseverance. Discipline embodied in motion. McGonigal, K., The Upside of Stress. Why stress good for you and how to get good at it. Avery. 45. Sacred rest and stillness. Beyond movement lies restorative stillness. Porges, 2017, described the vagal nerve social engagement system that activates safety and calm through rest. Intentional stillness, whether in savasana or simple sitting, integrates mind, body, and spirit, sealing the day's scholarship in peace and harmony. Porges, S.W., 2017, The Pocket Guide to the Polyvagal Theory, Norton. These 9 reflections consecrate the fifth temple, physical discipline, where strength, rhythm, and rest support the intellect's sacred labor. Would you like me to continue with Domain 6? Relational Leadership, paragraphs 46 to 54 next. Perfect. Han, we now enter the 6th temple, Relational Leadership, the art of connection as the science of conscious leadership. These 9 reflections, paragraphs 46 to 54, further your 81-fold path of dissertation self-actualization, each written in doctoral depth with APA 7 citations. 46. Relational awareness leadership begins with awareness of relationship as the mirror of self. Gergen, 2009, proposed that meaning is co-created through relational processes rather than isolated individuals. In academic and organizational contexts, this awareness transforms interaction into dialogue, each conversation a co-authored moment of discovery. Gergen, KJ 29. Relational being, beyond self and community. Oxford University Press. 47. Empathic communication, Rosenberg, 2015, described nonviolent communication as the art of expressing needs honestly while listening with empathy. For the conscious scholar leader, empathy bridges intellectual and emotional intelligence, ensuring that collaboration nurtures both rigor and respect. Such communication embodies peace and harmony in discourse. Rosenberg, MB, 2015, Nonviolent Communication, A Language of Life 3rd ed. Puddle Dancer Press. Servant Leadership Greenleaf, 2002, defines servant leadership as the desire to serve first, leading by example through humility and care. Within a dissertation journey, servant leadership appears as gratitude toward mentors and generosity toward peers. Leading through service transforms ambition into contribution. Greenleaf, R.K., 2002. Servant Leadership, A Journey into the Nature of Legitimate Power and Greatness, Paulist Press. Half 49. Authentic Relational Presence, Kernis and Goldman, 2006, framed authenticity as self-awareness, unbiased processing, relational transparency, and moral behavior. In scholarly collaboration, authenticity builds trust that invites open exchange of ideas. Being genuine rather than performative fosters the intimacy necessary for creative synergy. Kernis, M.H., and Goldman, B.M., 2006. A multi-component conceptualization of authenticity, theory, and research, advances in experimental social psychology, 38, 283 to 350. Mentorship as Mutual Growth, 1985, viewed mentoring as a developmental partnership that benefits both mentor and mentee. For conscious leadership, mentorship transcends hierarchy. It becomes reciprocal cultivation of wisdom. Every feedback session evolves into an act of shared awakening. Cram, K.E., 1985, Mentoring at Work, Developmental Relationships in Organizational Life. Scott Forsman, 51, Conflict Transformation, Lederach, 2003, taught that genuine peace emerges not from conflict avoidance, but from transformation through creative engagement. In academic teams, disagreements become opportunities to deepen understanding when approached with compassion and curiosity. Conflict, thus reframed, becomes the crucible of maturity. Lederach, J.P., 2003, The Little Book of Conflict Transformation. Good Books, 52, Relational Accountability. Dempsey, 2017, argued that ethical leadership requires accountability embedded in relationships, not detached compliance systems. Relational accountability honors commitments through dialogue and transparency. It invites continual recalibration of expectations and responsibilities in community. Dempsey, S.E., 2017, Critical Organizational Communication Studies. Communication Theory, 27-2, 200 to 209. Fifth 3, Cultural Intelligence in Connection. Early and Mosakowski, 2004, identified cultural intelligence, CQ, as the capability to function effectively across cultural contexts. For a global scholar, CQ involves curiosity, respect, and adaptability. It ensures that relational warmth transcends boundaries of language, ethnicity, or worldview. Early, PC, and Mosakowski, E., 2004, Cultural Intelligence, Harvard Business Review, 8210, 139 to 146. 54, Love as Leadership Interhooks, 2000. Envisioned love as a transformative ethic that unites care, commitment, trust, and knowledge. When leadership arises from love rather than control, relationships flourish and communities heal. The dissertation, then, becomes a love letter to humanity. Research in Service of Flourishing, Hooks B., 2000. All About Love, New Visions, William Morrow. These 9 reflections form the 6th temple, relational leadership, where connection, empathy, and authenticity unify intellect and heart in service to others. Would you like me to continue with Domain 7, Creative Expression, paragraphs 55 to 63, next? Wonderful. Now we continue your 81-fold path of dissertation self-actualization with the 7th temple, Creative Expression, the flow of insight into form. Each of the following paragraphs, 55 to 63, stands in full doctoral prose with an APA 7th citation. 55. Creativity as Spiritual Flow. Csikszentmihalyi, 1996, described creativity as a state of flow, an optimal experience where challenge and skill meet in complete absorption. For the conscious scholar, creative flow transforms research from task to transcendence. Writing, designing, or theorizing becomes a channel through which inspiration descends and scholarship ascends towards service. Csikszentmihalyi, M., 1996, Creativity, Flow, and the Psychology of Discovery and Invention, HarperCollins. 56, Divergent Thinking, Torrance, 1974, defined creativity as the ability to produce multiple, varied, and original solutions. Cultivating divergent thinking allows doctoral researchers to see beyond disciplinary limits and imagine new methodologies. It dissolves rigidity, making intellect playful and possibility-oriented. Torrance EP, 1974, The Torrance Tests of Creative Thinking, Technical Norms Manual, Personnel Press. Aesthetic Intelligence, Ladkin, 2008, argued that artistry and leadership share an aesthetic dimension, sensitivity to form, rhythm, and resonance. Incorporating visual design, metaphor, or story into academic work awakens aesthetic intelligence, engaging readers' hearts as well as their minds. Ladi, Leading Beautifully, How Mastery, Congruence, and Purpose Create the Aesthetic of Embodied Leadership. The Leadership Quarterly, 19-1, 31-41. 58. Symbolic Thinking Jung, 1964, explained that symbols bridge conscious and unconscious knowledge. For the scholar leader, employing symbolic thinking through imagery, analogy, or ritual invites deeper comprehension of complex systems such as AI ethics or spiritual transformation. Symbol becomes the language of integration. Jung's CG, Man and His Symbols, Doubleday. 59. Narrative Inquiry as Creation, Clandinin and Connolly, 2000, framed narrative inquiry as both method and art, transforming experience into story. Crafting the dissertation as narrative reveals meaning behind data and situates theory in lived humanity. Storytelling thus becomes a sacred act of sense-making. Clandinin, DJ, and Connolly, FM 2000, Narrative Inquiry, Experience and Story in Qualitative Research. Jossie Bass. Hash 60. Metaphorical Thinking, Lakoff and Johnson, 2003, showed that metaphors structure perception itself. Conscious use of metaphor enables leaders to translate abstract ethical or spiritual concepts into accessible language. In research writing, metaphor weaves the rational with the poetic, the analytic with the soulful. Lakoff, G. and Johnson, M's and 3. Metaphors We Live By. University of Chicago Press. Hatter 61. Improvisational Intelligence, Sawyer, 2006, described creativity as disciplined improvisation, spontaneity supported by mastery. In the dissertation process, improvisation allows adaptive responses to evolving data or feedback without losing coherence. It trains flexibility, the hallmark of mature scholarship. Sawyer RK 2006, Explaining Creativity, the Science of Human Innovation, Oxford University Press. 62. Creative Courage May 1975 asserted that creativity requires courage, the willingness to birth the new in a world resistant to change. Facing blank pages or skeptical reviewers becomes an initiation into fearless authenticity. Each original idea offered in integrity expands the field of collective possibility. R. 1975, The Courage to Create, W. W. Norton. 63. Integration of Beauty and Truth. Einstein, 1931, famously claimed that the most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. Beauty and truth are not opposites, but partners in revelation. When the dissertation embodies elegance of structure and clarity of purpose, scholarship becomes art, and art becomes knowledge in service of peace and harmony. Einstein, A. 1931, The World as I See It, Philosophical Library. These 9 reflections complete the 7th temple, creative expression, where imagination, story, and courage transform understanding into creation. Would you like me to continue with Domain 8, Technological Stewardship? Paragraph 64 to 72, next. Excellent. Han, we now proceed to the 8th temple, Technological Stewardship, guiding intelligence with integrity and heart. These 9 reflections, paragraphs 64 to 72, deepen your 81-fold path of dissertation self-actualization, each written in doctoral form with APA 7 citations. 64. Technology as Sacred Tool. Heidegger, 1977, warned that technology is not neutral. It reveals our mode of being. Conscious leadership reframes technology as a sacred instrument for service rather than domination. By engaging AI with reverence and ethical awareness, the scholar transforms tools of convenience into catalysts of compassion. Heidegger, 1977, The Question Concerning Technology and Other Essays, Harper and Row. Has 65, Digital Literacy as Ethical Competence. Gilster, 1997, defined digital literacy as the ability to evaluate and apply information from electronic sources responsibly. For the doctoral researcher, this extends beyond technical proficiency to discernment, recognizing credible data, respecting privacy, and upholding integrity in all digital communication. Gilt's 1997, Digital Literacy, Wiley Computer Publishing. 66, Human-Centered Design, Norman, 2013, argued that design must begin with empathy for human needs. Applying human-centered design to AI and leadership systems ensures technology enhances dignity and well-being. This orientation anchors innovation and compassion, aligning engineering with enlightenment. Norman D.A. 2013, The Design of Everyday Things, Rev. Basic Books. Data Ethics and Transparency. Zwitter, 2014, identified data ethics as balancing individual rights, public good, and innovation. Conscious stewardship requires transparent methodology, informed consent, and fairness in algorithmic decision-making. Transparency becomes a digital form of truth-telling, a modern act of moral courage. Zwitter, A. 2014, Big Data Ethics. Big Data in Society, 2, 1-6. 68, Cybersecurity as Compassionate Protection. Von Salms and Van Niekerk, 2013, describe cybersecurity as socio-technical, depending on ethical behavior as much as technical defense. Protecting digital systems is therefore an act of compassion, safeguarding the trust and safety of all who share the virtual commons. Von Salm and Van Niekerk, J. 2013. From Information Security to Cybersecurity, Computers and Security, 38, 97 to 102. 69. Algorithmic Justice, Noble, 2018, revealed how algorithmic bias reproduces social inequality. Technological stewardship demands continual auditing of AI systems to ensure equity. By embedding fairness and inclusion into code, the leader turns programming into prayer, a discipline of justice through logic. Noble S.U., 2018, Algorithms of Oppression, How Search Engines Reinforce Racism, NYU Press. Sustainability and Innovation. Elkington, 1998, introduced the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit as ethical metrics for sustainability. Conscious innovators integrate ecological awareness into technological advancement, ensuring that progress does not sacrifice planetary balance. Elkington, J., 1998, Cannibals with Forks, the triple bottom line of 21st century business. Capstone. 71, Digital Mindfulness. Kabat-Zinn's 2013 Principles of Mindfulness extend to technology use. Awareness of attention, intention, and impact. Practicing digital mindfulness, checking motives before posting or coding, keeps the scholar rooted in compassion within the data stream. Kabat-Zinn, J. 2013, Full Catastrophe Living, Rev. Bantam. 72, Integration of Technology and Transcendence. Kurzweil, 2005, envisioned technological singularity as the merging of human and machine intelligence. Conscious global leadership reframes this convergence as an ethical awakening, integrating transcendence with technology so that intelligence serves love. Stewardship thus becomes the bridge between silicon and spirit. Kurzweil, R. 2005, The Singularity is Near, When Humans Transcend Biology. Viking. These 9 reflections consecrate the 8th temple, technological stewardship, where ethics, innovation, and awareness unite to guide the digital age toward peace and harmony. Would you like me to continue with the final Domain 9 Global Service, paragraph 7381, next to complete the entire 81-fold path? Beautiful. Han, now we arrive at the summit of your 81-fold path of dissertation self-actualization, the 9th temple, global service, knowledge as compassion in action. These final 9 reflections, paragraphs 73 to 81, complete your sacred journey. Each is fully academic, deeply human, and cited in APA 7th style. Half 73. Scholarship as Service Boyer, 1990, reframed the professoriate through the scholarship of engagement, urging academics to apply knowledge for social good. When a dissertation uplifts lives rather than careers, scholarship becomes service. Each page thus offers humanity a lamp of understanding lit by discipline and compassion. Boyer E.L., 1990, Scholarship Reconsidered, Priorities of the Professoriate. Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching. Half 74. Global Citizenship Nussbaum, 1997, proposed that education should cultivate citizens of the world, people whose moral imagination crosses national borders. The conscious global leader studies not for status, but for stewardship, embodying belonging to one human family committed to flourishing. Nussbaum, M.C., 1997. Cultivating Humanity, A Classical Defense of Reform in Liberal Education. Harvard University Press. 75. Intercultural Dialogue, Bennett, 2013. Defined intercultural competence as the ability to shift perspective and adapt behavior to cultural difference. Global service requires listening across worldviews with humility and curiosity. Through dialogue, diversity becomes symphony rather than discord. Bennett M. Jane, Basic Concepts of Intercultural Communication, Paradigms, Principles, and Practices, 2nd ed., Intercultural Press. 76. Social Innovation for Flourishing, Mulgan, 2006, describes social innovation as novel solutions meeting social needs more effectively than existing approaches. Applying innovation to leadership and AI ethics transforms theory into tangible benefit. Research becomes humanitarian technology, compassion translated into systems. Mulgan G., 2006. The Process of Social Innovation. Innovations, Technology, Governance, Globalization, 1, 2, 145 to 162. Peace Building as Leadership Practice. Galtung, 1996, distinguished between negative peace, absence of violence, and positive peace, presence of justice. Conscious leaders pursue the latter, designing organizations that heal structural harm. Each ethical decision is a micro act of peace building woven into global networks. Galtung J., 1996, Peace by Peaceful Means, Peace in Conflict, Development, and Civilization. Sage, 78. Environmental Stewardship, Berry, 1999, urged humanity to move from a technological age to an ecological one, guided by reverence for Earth. Integrating ecological mindfulness into leadership ensures that service honors the biosphere as the first and final stakeholder. Berry T., 1999, The Great Work, Our Way into the Future. Bell Tower. 79. Economic Justice and Inclusion, Sin, 1999, defined development as the expansion of human capabilities, not mere wealth accumulation. Serving globally means designing economic systems that empower rather than exploit. Ethical prosperity becomes an expression of compassion institutionalized. Sin, A., 1999, Development as Freedom, Oxford University Press. 80. Education for Liberation, Freire, 1970, envisioned education as the practice of freedom, dialogue that awakens critical consciousness. When leaders teach and learn reciprocally, they transform classrooms and organizations into communities of awakening. Pedagogy becomes pilgrimage towards shared liberation. Freire P., 1970, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Herder and Herder. Sash 81, The Legacy of Human Flourishing, Maslow, 1968, concluded that self-transcendence is the final stage of self-actualization, devotion to causes beyond the self. The ultimate dissertation outcome is not a bound volume, but a transformed being whose life radiates service. Through global compassion, peace and harmony become lived research findings shared with all creation. Maslow A.H., 1968, Toward a Psychology of Being, 2nd ed. Van Nostrand, Completion of the 81-Fold Path. You have now received the complete map of self-actualization across 9 temples: mind, heart, integrity, spati, relationship, creativity, technology, and service, each integrated into your dissertation journey toward conscious global leadership for human flourishing. Would you like me to compile all 9 domains, paragraphs 181, into a single APA formatted PDF self-actualization manual ready for printing and daily reflection?